I'm
Hold up, hold
Aaron.
up, hold up. I'm sorry, I'm
The
not ready.
oh my gosh, I
You
can't
don't have to stop it. No
I
one's gonna
can't do that
notice your
again.
name.
No, wait. I have to do that. I'm sorry.
Welcome back to another exciting edition of Rake Your Position, where three lifelong friends and our idiot groundskeeper are living out the dream from the comfort of their chairs. I'm Aaron, the host.
I'm Joe, the groundskeeper under the eye. 17.
Okay.
Yeah, don't know what that means.
More to
Jaylee
come.
the Rover.
I'm Corey the Stat Man.
We are here with a super hot stove winter meeting edition news episode. So it won't take long, guys. But we've got a few things to talk about.
No, it will still take probably an hour and 15
Yeah,
minutes.
we still like to talk baseball.
You keep interrupting, Corey. Yeah.
Ed Joe's curveballs are coming. But we've got a few different topics. We're going to go around the horn, leading the discussion on this, but get everybody's thoughts as we still await the big dogs, Ohtani and Yamamoto, to make their decision so everybody else can fall in line. So the first one I've got is it's actually going to me first because it is a Brave topic. The Braves flipped a couple of pitching prospects to the Mariners, basically to buy Jerry Kelenic. Overall, I'm pretty excited about this. Jared had 2 WAR season last year, only played half the season before he broke his foot in a cooler kicking incident.
Nice.
But he's only 24. He's just a few years removed from being a top 5 prospect in all of baseball. A couple years ago, the Mets got kind of hammered for including him in the deal to buy Edwin Diaz by taking on Robinson Cano in that Mets-Mariners swap. And now the Mariners are already giving up on him, which is interesting because at the time they had Kelenic, Julio coming, and Rookie of the Year Kyle Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
Going to be this awesome young outfield, and now Julio's the only one still there. So from a Braves perspective, I like it, using your financial clout to get a guy that's basically still a prospect. He's just 24 years old. He's got 5 years of control. His floor is a 20-homer good fielder, which is what we had in Rosario for a tenth of the price this year. And his ceiling is probably a 30-homer all-star if he actually lives up to his pedigree. And, in Atlanta's offense, he'll be hitting 7th, 8th, or 9th. You won't be counted on to be the 3, 4, 5 guy like the Mariners were banking on. So, I like it. It's a nice cheap fix for the left field young guy, and they've already flipped Gonzalez to the Pirates. So it was just using cash to get Kelenic. The one guy that they did send could turn out to be something. Cole Phillips was a 2nd-round pick last year out of high school. All reports are he would have been a 1st-rounder, but he just had Tommy John at the end of his senior year in high school, and so the Braves snagged him a 2nd round. But it's been 20 months, and he still hasn't pitched any professional innings. So by the time next spring rolls around, you're talking 2 years since this kid last pitched. So at one point he had high potential, but the Braves are in win now mode, so it's not much of a cost for them.
Hey, it's been 12 years since I pitched. Think of all the potential I got in my arm.
You got to get those Tommy Johns out of the way first, though.
That's true.
He probably needs it. But
Your thoughts on this trade?
The Seattle Mariners look a lot like my OOTP Seattle Mariners because I did sign Julio Rodriguez, Jared Kelenic, and Kyle Lewis to relatively long-term deals, and the only one left is Julio Rodriguez.
Yeah.
So that's a fun thing that 2 of us care about a little bit in this. So I'm just going to never mind alienating our listeners. I'm going to alienate half the pod as well. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that, how do the Braves do it? And you saw the joke tweets about how he's going to sign a 7-year extension to meet Blooper and get I don't even remember, but whatever Dallas Brayton said. But
yeah.
It's silly, and maybe he's not that good. I imagine the Mets now seeing him in a Braves uniform as well. We'll hate that, but I mean, I think it's fair to say that you brought up the deal. Like, it seems like the Mets pretty squarely won that deal now,
which
in
is
hindsight.
insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
They got one great year out of Diaz, one okay year out of Diaz, and some at bats from Cano. Like, yeah, we won that.
Yeah, yeah. But I was kind of surprised they flipped Marco just because it seemed like he could be starting pitching depth. I don't know. I know they sent cash also to the Pirates, so I don't know how much of that contract they're eating. But
yeah, they haven't said, and it sounds like because originally it was a player to be named later, and so I think the deal was they wanted the Pirates to try to grab somebody the Rule 5 draft, and the Pirates weren't able to grab that person, and so then the Pirates just sent cash instead. So,
gotcha.
The Braves are going to roll with the young guys. They're still in the rumors for making a trade for a different rotation piece, and so maybe they're a lot closer to do that. And so they knew from the get-go, because it sounds like right away it was reported that Marco was not going to be a Brave. That didn't take long to come out. So I think the Braves probably got another trade in the works once the free agent hot stove heats up, and they just moved on from Gonzalez. But Jared, we talked about last week, like, what are the Mariners doing? So now they've taken Kalenic, Hernandez, and Suarez out of that lineup. And Soto, which we'll talk about a little bit, doesn't seem to be going to Seattle. So what are they doing up there?
I like how I've become the news reporter for the Mariners.
Yep.
By, I guess,
Spend a lot of time out there, right?
Making a projected person to go there. I don't really know. And then Corey sent us that article the other day of them like wanting 2 position players. So I guess I am just as confused as the front office is. I don't have an answer. So I think that's what's going to be interesting as they move forward to kind of see what their plans are. Just kind of sucks because like I think you're starting to see some players who sign these long-term extensions like J-Rod, and obviously Trout's career has been not in the postseason. I just kind of hope that they don't let off the gas and let someone like J-Rod waste their prime years, But the only thing I have to add to that trade that we're on the topic before we move on is I think for Jared, this is probably the best opportunity because I think when he came up with the Mariners, he was expected to be one of the top players in that lineup. Now he gets to go to Atlanta and he can be the 7th, 8th, or 9th best hitter in that lineup and just be comfortable. Like he doesn't have to worry about being the guy that drives in all these runs, and like he kind of just, maybe reset and get to his game, that the player that he's supposed to be. So I'm kind of excited to see it. I hate to see that he's on the Braves because it sounds like he's just going to be another top player, but hopefully he gets his career right.
Well, I would say like most of our listeners, I've never heard of this guy before in my life, so I don't really have a lot to state. I mean, a guy who's put up these type of seasons doesn't really get on my radar. He took a step in the right direction last year, it looks like. If he's back healthy and continues kind of an upward trajectory, he's still super young. I think it's a little sad that the MLB is set up to where teams can just like buy players. Probably a topic for a different pod, but that's kind of where I fall on that. Gonzalez, he was part of the Tyler O'Neill trade, so he's now on the Pirates. I'm sure he'll throw like incomplete game shutouts against the Cardinals.
Yep.
So that's pretty much all I have to say about that. Other than I do have a little bit of a slider to throw. So with the cooler kicking incident, listeners and y'all here, of course, what just off the top of your head, what's your favorite or best memory of a player, just the player himself, like nobody else is involved, a player going off and either looking ridiculous or like actually hurting themselves? And I'll go ahead and go first. I'm pretty sure I'm remembering this right. Julian Tavares for the Cardinals tried to like punch the bullpen phone off the dugout wall and ended up breaking his I think his non-throwing hand because he still pitched. But and I'm definitely nobody to talk because I'm definitely a rage monster when I play things. But it is kind of ridiculous that people get so mad and end up hurting themselves by punching or kicking something.
Yeah, I mean, mine that first comes to my head, it's not one that where he hurt himself, but it just, I mean, when you mentioned it, the first thing that came to my head was Big Poppy with the bat destroying the phone in the dugout?
Yeah, it was a phone.
And then like my favorite is like the guy in the dugout sitting next to it, just kind of like not really wanting to like he's not trying to move, but like trying to like be like, oh goodness. So that's the one that always sticks in my head.
I think that was right after Big Poppy made an error while he was playing shortstop as well.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and they
That was the
still
one I
won
thought of.
11-10.
that was the one I thought of as well, and yeah, it was good. So I don't have too much to add there. But
My favorite one involves Joe and the first time you guys met him. We're watching,
goodness.
Yeah.
Wow,
watching.
we're going to viewership.
Yes. We're watching Bills Patriots. Couple years. I mean, it's been 12 years ago now.
Yeah, we were in high school.
Bills were finally good, and was Brady Patriots? Well, they've
the
been
Bills
bad.
were winning.
They were winning
at the time.
And they had this big lead and starts dwindling down. It's pretty much impossible to lose this game. And Joe goes, if they're going to fumble this kickoff, and the Patriots are going to win. And it's like 5 seconds left of the game, and that's exactly what happens. And there's like this gallon ketchup bottle in the middle of the floor, and Joe just punches it straight down to the floor. Ketchup flies everywhere. And that was the first time Jared and Corey had ever met Joe, had ever been to my house.
No,
Like,
there's a
that's-
different story about I think the first time we were at your house.
That's second time. That's the first time you met Joe.
That was the first time we met
Second
Joe.
time you're at my house. Yes.
Yeah.
We won't talk about the other one.
The first time we went to our youth pastor's house.
Then you should screen movies before you invite students over. That's what I learned from that.
You'll have to fill me in on that later, I guess.
All right.
That's an off-air topic.
Yeah. It's the intro bit. But let's move on to some Yankees news, some probable Yankees news, some Yankees news that has happened.
Oh, the big Yankee news?
Yeah, the big Yankee news. They signed
Isaiah
Dennis
Kiner-Falefa
Santana.
might come back.
Oh. And Dennis Santana.
Is he still the bigs?
I think it's a pitcher, so I think it's somebody else. I think that's Denny is what you're thinking of.
The utility guys who I was thinking. Denny's
Yeah, I think
Santana.
it's Denny. I don't know.
Anywho, Yankees.
Yeah, Yankees news.
They're in the headlines a lot today.
Yes, they are. Specifically because it seems like Juan Soto is not going to the Mariners and maybe going to the Yankees, which I know it came out in this past season about how few at-bats left-handed hitters have gotten for the Yankees, which will be a theme in these discussions. But it sounds like. So the latest update is that the Padres are continuing to evaluate the medical reports of the players involved. So the players basically that are going back to the Yankees, Michael King is kind of headlining the deal, and he has pitched in the majors. I think the other three prospects have not. Michael King, Drew Thorpe. Where's these people's first names? Johnny Brito and Randy Vasquez. And then along with catcher Kyle Higashioka. Yeah. But it sounds like this is a pretty solid haul for 1 year of Juan Soto. So I don't know. You see like sign and trades, especially in the NBA. I don't know if you can do that in the MLB, but it seems like the Braves have pulled that off a few times, maybe unofficially or officially. I'm not sure, but when they got Olsen and Murphy, it was like they traded for them and then they signed them. So maybe there's a chance that Soto comes over and they've talked about signing an extension there, but maybe not.
Boris.
But this is a big for 1 year. Like this is almost more. I don't know if it's more than what the Padres gave the Nationals, but as far as because there were three headliners.
The fact that
definitely in
it's close is impressive.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of pitching here, but it seems like Juan Soto's headed to the Yankees. It seems like all day we've heard, oh, it's first I heard by
basically everything
lunchtime.
but
It's by lunchtime, then it's like we're almost there, and now it's, I would guess, it's 9 p.m. now, and like 10 in Nashville, where the winter meetings are taking place. So we'll see if something gets hammered out tonight. But from the looks out of it, it seems like Juan Soto's all but a Yankee at this point, and that's going to add to their left-handed hitting. And again, not a Mariner. Which again, Jared, what are they doing again over there? I'm going to take it live to our Mariners correspondent, Jared Lee.
Yeah, nothing on the front down here. Back to you guys.
it's running sideways.
Where's your umbrella?
Inside out, 2 miles away.
Go through those names you mentioned. King is no longer technically a prospect,
Yeah,
but he's still
I was wondering
young.
about that. I was going to look these people up.
Drew
but-
Thorpe is 5th in the system, and he's projected to be there by 2025. He's 23 already, though. And Randy Vasquez started 5 games, appeared in 6 others for the Yankees last year with a 2.87 ERA, and he's rated 13th in the Yankee system. So all 3 of these guys are young pitchers, with Thorpe and Vasquez still technically prospects. If you get one of them to hit for 1 year of Soto, that'd be nice.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a big move, but I think it's more or less the Yankees realizing that they're not the Yankees. And they've been talked about of not contending for a while. And I think this is a move that they feel like can really push them over the limit. I know, of course, you're going to mention it soon, but the other guy they acquired too, I like him a lot too. I mean, left-handed hitters in that ballpark should be hitting 50 homers a year. Like,
ESPN said that, and I think this is what the number lefties for the Yankees hit 219 last year. I mean, Rizzo got concussed and still tried to play, and he was horrible after that injury. And the rest of the lefties are just nobodies. And yeah, Verdugo, he's a platoon guy now. But yeah, he hit 290 something off of righties last year. So,
Joe, have
I
you
will
heard of
say-
Juan Soto? Not Han, Juan.
doesn't
Two
ring a
different
bell,
people.
really.
I know a lot of wands. I'm pretty familiar with Soto. I think number one, it's 9 o'clock in Nashville as well. They're on Central Time. Number two, I think 100% the Yankees re-sign him. Number three, I think, and by think, I of course mean I know, the
Gosh.
Yankees, the Yankees are not one big bat away from they're not one big bat away even from winning their own division, let alone going through the playoffs and winning the World Series. I mean, go look at their team.
yeah, it's
I
not
don't
good.
want to. I
It's
guess what I'm
not.
saying by this is I don't think they're done. Like, they're going to get this
Yeah,
guy in a trade, and they're going to go spend a bunch of money.
Yeah, and that very well could happen. I mean, they still, I think, have a pretty light lineup. They still have Garrett Cole, question mark, question mark, question mark.
Yeah, they're in the
Baltimore is
Yamamoto
there.
sweepstakes, but yeah, you're exactly right.
If
For more
Rodon's
than
healthy, that's
Soto.
pretty good.
I
Rodon's a
mean-
pretty good number 2 if he's healthy.
I mean, what font size is that? If that font size is 148 font, I mean, he's not going to be healthy.
Oh, it's just the capital I, lowercase f. Starts the sentence.
It ain't 12-point times New Roman. That's 148 wingding. So yeah, I mean, I think it looks like the trade's going to happen, and I'm for sure they're going to re-sign him. The Yankees, they got the money to do it, but
Yeah. Well, then
They're
maybe
still-
they're that confident and
they're
resigning.
still going to
too, I
get
guess.
they're still going to get at best 3rd place in the division and miss the playoffs.
Lester Cortez is pretty good.
Okay, I mean, I'm
Are
going
you-
to come
are
out
you
with a
locking-
PowerPoint. I'm going to come out for a PowerPoint next spring, and it's going to have 2 pictures of Samuel L. Jackson on there falling downstairs.
So that's your pick. You're locking it in right now. Third place in the division.
Yeah, that plus Cleveland by 20. Hey, that's my thoughts on Juan Soto. I like him though. I like him a lot. Always liked his attitude.
Have you? Okay.
Not
And then
we're not diving into that.
You also got to think
oh god,
he's primed for his best year he's ever had.
He's only 25. It's insane.
And coming into that last year, these guys always like, okay, time to make the money.
Here comes the money.
That's what I'd do anyway. I'd have my best season right before I hit free agency.
when's that gonna happen?
2029.
You've been in free agency for a long time.
Yeah,
Hey, Boras is my agent. He keeps telling me to hold out for the best deal.
Oh, got it.
I think you called the wrong guy. You're supposed to call Boris, not Boras.
Oh,
He called Borat.
Yeah.
I called Scotty Borat.
Anywho, as far as the deal that the Yankees did make, they traded for Alex Verdugo from the Boston Red Sox for some pieces that I don't know what they are. And it was quite surprising. I think especially because it was a Red Sox Yankees trade, and that thinking that the return that the Red Sox got, I would have thought they could have gotten from someone else, or taken less from someone else and still felt better about themselves. It's kind of a strange deal. I know, again, from my OOT experience, Alex Verdugo in fake baseball is a locker room problem. I don't have any idea about his personality in real life.
I think it's the exact same, right?
I think he rubs some people the wrong way. I don't know that he's
Like counterclockwise or something?
yeah.
His hands
That's how
backwards.
he operates. Yeah.
He's good in my book.
yeah.
Team Mexico.
And I don't think there's anything, just like the old baseball people probably don't like Alex Verdugo's personality.
What, big chain?
Excuse me?
Got a big chain?
Oh, okay. I thought you said something
Do
else.
your chains hang low?
And he also hasn't been, I think, the guy that they thought he was going to be. He was a big part in the Mookie Betts deal coming over to Boston.
How'd that work out for him?
I mean, Mookie
Mookie
Betts
Betts
probably
is
should have won
playing
the
second
MVP this
now.
year, but yeah.
He wasn't next year
Everybody
playing
know-
second base. Don't worry.
Everybody knows second base is the most important position on the field, especially Joe knows that.
Right, Joe?
That's right. Where you put your
But
best player.
Verdugo came over to the Red Sox, played 3 full seasons for him, basically 13 home runs, 11 home runs, 13 home runs. He's a guy that I think sprays the ball around a little bit as opposed to just like a pull hitter, which is maybe what you would want in Yankee Stadium. But he's a good bat to ball guy, so it should hopefully reduce the strikeouts that the team has. He's less than 100 strikeouts. I feel like for a hitter is pretty good in a full season. But he's a good solid piece. And now, I mean, there was a thought that he may be flipped as part of the Soto deal, but it sounds like they're going to keep both of them. And again, with I think what Joe mentioned, the dual pictures of Samuel L. Jackson falling downstairs, I think the Yankees are also just trying to cover their bases and have people to play the field in the event that people get hurt. So I think he's a good depth guy. Certainly maybe a platoon guy, but did I say that right? Did we decide? Was there a verdict on platoon versus?
He definitely has massive splits. He is who he is. I mean, you can look at his stats. Even his last year in LA, played 100 games, got 12 homers, decent on base percentage. The interesting part is, assuming they get Soto, Verdugo's got to play center unless they're playing Judge and center.
They did say Judge. They are. I think
Judge will
it's
play
more
center.
so Judge than center than Verdugo is the outlook right now.
Well, that's not smart either. So
Wow.
their outfield defense is going to be a little iffy, but it does sound like they're getting Grisham back in this trade too. So Grisham will be the 4th outfielder as a defensive replacement. Verdugo's going to get $10 million. So if the Yankees are willing to spend $10 million on this part-time outfielder, then they got to go out there and spend big on everybody else because you can get a lot better player for $10 million. So it'll be interesting. Not a bad piece, but weird.
Joe, do you know who Alex Verdugo is?
Oh, I've heard the name before. I've researching him earlier today. I don't. Somebody said he was solid. I think that might be a little exaggeration. He's decent. I mean, you look at his OBP and his slugging the past 3 years, and
Semi-solid.
it's like slightly above average. I don't get excited about it. He ain't winning you the division. It looks like that those numbers should come from your Gold Glove player, and I don't see that he's won any Gold Gloves. Sorry, Aaron. What?
His OPS versus righties is 793 versus lefties it's 609 last year. So almost 100 bats against lefties and 600 OPS. So yeah, I mean, just a nice piece to have, but you expect the Yankees to go out and do a whole lot more. And that starts with Soto.
Jared, do you have anything to add, or do you want to move on to a guy going to the Birds?
Caca.
I'm not sure what sound an Oriole makes. I don't think it's caca though.
I don't either, but that's the best I had. So yeah, we can move on. Also, I'd like to make a petition to be the Orioles insider compared to the Mariners because it seems like it's going to be a little bit more fun for the Orioles than the Mariners. But
we can take a vote real quick.
You could be the AL insider.
Yeah, well, we don't have a replacement for the Mariners one right now, so you're just gonna have to cover both until we get a guy to cover that for us. Okay?
All right,
No
that's
pay
fair.
raise. No pay raise.
I'll take the job. So this just
what teams do I get?
Nobody.
You get the Cardinals Major League 26-man roster and absolutely nobody else.
Because that's what you follow.
Yes.
Go ahead, Jay.
Because last week the Cardinals added Kyle Gibson. He's like, I've never heard of this guy. 35-year-old vet who's been around forever. I have no idea who this is.
I don't pay attention to mediocre players. Go ahead, Jay Lee.
There we go.
So the Cardinals.
The entire Cardinal squad. Anyway, so groundbreaking news today. This just in. Craig Keg.
Assume the position.
Yeah.
Corey.
It's really not as intimidating as when he does it compared to when we do it on.
Yeah.
What about when Jordan Luplow does it?
That actually kind of hurt my shoulder.
Yeah, actually, mine's kind of stiff now. Anyway, headed to the Orioles on a 1-year, 13-year, 12 mil, 1-year buyout.
1 year, 13 year.
What?
1 year, 13 million.
You just sounded like, whose line is it anyway? We got 72 songs.
A
on
little backwards there.
CDs.
I don't know. I dig it. I think for that young of a squad, you definitely need some veterans like him. I mean, we're looking at his numbers before we got on here. Like, dude's insane. Like, I think Cooney said it best. Might be the best closer in our lifetime. Like, just nuts. But I didn't know this, but when I was reading more on it, I guess I must have missed that where Batista is not going to pitch this season. So it sounds like they might be using him as a bridge for the closing role until he gets back to the following year, which could be good for him. Could be able to get him one more payday if he comes out and balls for him. So I don't know. I dig it. Like I said, you always need some veteran on the such of a young squad as the Orioles are. So I'll kick it to you guys for anything further.
I like
I would
it.
love for you to go first, Joe.
Thank you. I think so. I remember Kimball with the Braves. It's like, okay, what's ninth inning? Here comes Kimbrel. The Braves won. And then I think it got stuck in my head how poorly he pitched for the Cubs. And I don't know why I thought he was kind of getting washed up. And I really didn't because I know he's had some successful seasons since then. Not quite the dominance of, his younger years, but he still seems really solid. I don't know what his advanced stats or whatever. I'm guessing his fastball is still above average and blah, 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 what all that means. But so I like it. It's 1-year deal. No bad 1-year deals. And like Jay Lee said, it'd probably be a good veteran presence. And he's still he's still super solid. So I mean, I would have taken him on my team all day. Took him.
Yeah, I've heard it both ways. Aaron's looking something up, so I'll go here. It's a good deal. You mentioned so I would be interested to see if there's some sort of load management with him because this end of the season seems to be his kryptonite. So his last season with the Cubs, when they actually he did them a great service because he was traded from the Cubs to the White Sox in 2021 after he had a .49 ERA for the Cubs and went to the White Sox and had a 5.09 ERA after that. Then in 2022, got traded to the Dodgers. He had a pretty good ERA and then did not make the team's playoff roster. And then pitched for the Phillies, had a 3.26 ERA, got taken out of the closer's role in the playoffs. So it's like if there's a way to, because closers are a different animal where they kind of live off that adrenaline. So I don't know if you could just kind of take it easy on him, give him an EpiPen. Maybe I think is what Jared's implying there. But take it easy on him for like the first half and then like really ramp up him for the second half.
Or give him that juice from that Batman and was it Batman Forever that Bane took?
Oh, I thought you were talking about Space Jam.
No.
Yeah,
That's
Michael's
Michael's
special
secret
stuff.
I thought you were talking about Space Jam too.
Love the deal. Would love to
We
see the
weren't.
Orioles add in the starting rotation though. So it's good, and yeah, I mean definitely is a kind of a stopgap or transition to Batista coming back. I don't think you can go wrong with this deal, but need to see some rotation pieces in Baltimore.
Yeah, I was pulling up the baseball savant as Joe was asking about advanced stats. I mean, a lot of red, velo's still there. He was hit hard though. His barrel percentage, hard hit rate, exit velocity was all down. So like people are hitting him hard for whatever reason last year. And to Corey's note about him getting tired maybe at the end of the year, he has a 4.5 ERA in the playoffs for his career, which is interesting because elite closers, man, that like you're saying feeding off adrenaline is you're gonna have tons of adrenaline in the playoffs and you get more rest. You got, built-in off days. So you get a pitch all the time. And for whatever reason, he hasn't quite been Dirty Craig Kimbrell in the playoffs. But yeah, I like it just for the simple fact that the Orioles are willing to spend money because the bullpen's the last area you spend big money on. And so if you're willing to do that for an older closer, then you got to think they're in on other free agents to complement the young core they have. So I like it. They also got that Cano kid who I'm surprised they didn't say he's going to close, but you might see him close some so that Kimbrell doesn't have to pitch as often because he did throw 69 innings last year, which was the second most of his career. Yeah.
He's 29, also 6'4", 245. So,
I'm saying Kimbrell threw 69 innings. Which was the second most of his career at 35 years old. He threw 77 when he was 23, and they threw 69 last year. Those are his two highest innings. So yeah, so maybe using Cano time to time so Kimbrell doesn't have to throw more than twice in a week or whatever would be smart. But I like it. Go Baltimore.
Yeah. He's a beast. Can we get rid of the man button though?
Yeah, maybe that's the thing. He needs to cut the little ponytail off.
It's not a great look.
That can stay.
Although his dad's cool. I have to find another picture of his dad because he looks like just a good old boy.
Good old redneck boy.
Yeah. Oh man.
Come on the pod, man.
What a beast.
Papa Kimbrell.
Yeah. I was gonna head up this next one because Joe just go
Corey.
What's up?
I wanted to throw something in before we go on to the next thing.
Okay.
It's kind of in the same vein as Kimbrell.
It's not on the agenda, but that's okay. Why would we use that?
You want me to add it in there real quick?
I would be, could have done this before we.
Right, 1 second.
Because then I would have known not to try and go.
I'm not
to the
sure
next
if that's
thing.
who he signed with, to be honest. But it's kind of in the same vein of Kimbrell. And I was a little perplexed. I'll get Cooney's.
Who are you talking about? You
Look at
didn't
the
tell
agenda.
viewers.
It's in there now.
Well,
I
he
put it
didn't
in the
tell.
agenda, bro.
He didn't tell our viewers and our listeners can't
Yeah.
read the agenda. That's why I'm
That's
saying.
true. We'll put our Google account information in the
Yeah,
description of the
everybody just
next
get in.
video.
That would be fun. Let the fans, all of our fans, at the agenda.
Oh, so your
God.
dad
Oh,
writes
man.
it for us?
Yeah, that'd be great.
So I remember Yates when he was on San Diego, super beast. I mean, honestly, and I mean he's kind of slowed down in his older age, but had a pretty solid season with Atlanta. Had a really pretty cheap club option, I think. Got bought out, signed 1 year deal with the Rangers, and again, I think if he replicates his 2023 season, other than his walks. I was surprised that Atlanta didn't pick that up because it was like less than 6 million, I think, right? I read this earlier today, so I could be remembering wrong, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Watching him pitch, it was his out pitch always was that split change when he was dominant for the Padres. And then he's had Tommy John in 2020 and got hurt coming back because Toronto signed him to be their closer. He never pitched for him. The split came and went. And so he never pitched. Like, I think he had 1 or 2 save opportunities. He was usually, he had 5 saves, I guess. So a few more than I thought, but he was always 5th, 6th, 7th inning. He was never a high leverage guy. So it'd be interesting where the Rangers pitch him. I think for where, like, again, this year, he would have been a middle relief guy for the Braves, since the Braves thought he wasn't worth that money. They'd rather pay Lopez that $4 million instead. So that's the thing. I think where he's going to be pitching, it wasn't worth it. Can he still get the big timeouts in the high pressure situations with his diminished stuff? I don't know about that because he didn't do that last year.
Yeah, he's a super beast. I'd love to see him be a super beast again. But
Yeah, and I know he's getting older, but do you think maybe now he's 2 years past his injuries? Past whatever.
Yeah, he got better as the season went on for sure.
I'm looking outside of those walks. I'm looking at these numbers, and I'm like, and maybe it's because he's coming in low leverage situations against whatever. But I take those numbers all day, every day.
Well,
We'll see.
I stand corrected. Pre All-Star, he had a 324. Post All-Star, he had a 333. So he was pretty much the same.
No,
all year.
way worse.
Wow.
Yeah, I just
no
felt like
wonder.
he got better as the year went on, but he was the same.
All right, sorry to add to the agenda.
Yeah. Does
there,
anybody
Corey. I know
else?
that
I'll just
throws
open.
you
Does
off.
anybody else have anything they want to add, or just put in blindly?
I think that's
just-
I think that's a pretty good pickup for the Rangers. So that's worth bringing up.
I'm just making sure nobody else has anything else they want to say. Or
Cardinals
talk
signed anybody else out of the nursing home today?
Joe, this would
Not that I'm aware
be
of.
this would be a good time for you to go take a bathroom break because you're gonna have absolutely no idea what we're talking about.
And rightfully so. Looking at this guy's stats, I mean,
Well,
Chicago,
you're not
I'm
looking in the
available.
right place. I'll tell you that. Because
MVP.
Erick Fedde had a 6-year major league career and has negative .3 WAR, 5.41 ERA,
And
5
is getting signed.
1.5 WHIP. Got a 2-year, $15 million contract because he went over to South Korea. South Korea,
That's
Not
close.
not North.
Off of the
And
skip.
threw 180 and a third innings and had a 2.00 ERA. The KBO MVP goes over there for 1 year, balls out. Let's see, 209 strikeouts, 33 walks. Pretty good. Pretty good.
Corey's got the insider scouting report on that.
I'm on mykbostats.com. It looks like it's from 1999.
Well, good. We
But
got the Mariners, Orioles, and now KVO covered.
yeah.
You got the Pacific Rim leagues.
He threw 2,904 pitches, And it's kind of interesting that he goes over to the KBO for 1 year, comes back, gets $15 million dollars from the White Sox.
Oh.
Also, the White Sox is kind of a weird thing. Also, before we go on, 4.66 ERA against the Cardinals in his career. Erick Fedde, 2 games, 4.66 ERA against the
Can you
Cardinals.
look up the Braves? Because he pitched
I can.
for the Nationals a lot. So
Yes. Oh, I just looked him up versus the Braces, so that's not going to help me out. 10 games, 11.03
Yeah.
ERA against the
I've seen this
Braves.
guy pitch a lot. His stuff is not good. So how good is his KBO league that he's the MVP? You look at his 2022 Baseball Savant page, it is all dark blue except for extension. So he goes really far off the mound towards the plate, and it doesn't matter because the ball just gets lit up. How this guy just got a multi-year deal and he's getting paid more than Kyle Gibson. I mean, White Sox, it's worth a shot for the White Sox. They got nothing to lose, so whatever. I'm sure they're going to try to flip him as soon as he gets hot, if he ever gets hot. But
Only way he's getting hot is if he falls in a fire.
I mean, kudos to you, Erick Fedde. You're still in the bigs.
Yeah, congrats to him, man.
Not kudos to him.
You have
Kudos
a
to his
5.5.
agent.
Yes, you have a 5.5 ERA in the U.S. You have a 2 ERA in South Korea, and you're
an
about to
amazing
make
agent.
you're about to make $15 million over the next 2 years. So good for you, but this might be a waste of money.
This wasn't really that interesting a transaction. I just thought it was kind of a fun story. So
yeah, good for him getting MVP over there. But what's that league like? Lance Lynn, go, man.
No,
I'm
Lance
thinking
Lynn's
about
busy.
going.
He's got a home.
Joe, you had some interesting thoughts on the draft lottery, I think, and I'd really like to kind of get down into that and just kind of let you have the floor and kind of just really let it all out.
Well, interesting thoughts is not how I would describe the thoughts that I have in my head. So I guess I can start with a couple stories that are kind of relevant, not relevant, but just, we have to get this thing to at least 45 minutes. So I'll throw them in here. So my introduction was Under the Eye 17. So, one activity that I enjoy doing, and it's only one time a year, is playing bingo, mostly with my grandmother, who enjoys playing. But what that consists of is somebody, to our listeners, I'm spinning a invisible bingo wheel. It spins, all these balls roll around, you have no idea what's coming out. You pull it out, and it's like Under the Eye 17, and you just hope that gives you a bingo. So that's a pretty cool story, huh? Well, I'll go on to another one.
Is that how people say bingo?
I've never heard Under the Eye.
Yeah, you just say I 17.
Oh, you guys don't play bingo where I play bingo. Under the B 10. 100%. 100%. You guys want to fight about bingo?
Yes.
Oh, I've never heard it that way.
I'll fight you anytime.
Under the
G,
G 57. Also, one time Corey set up a football draft, and of course everybody knows
this was not me.
Was this Jay Lee's brother or something?
Yes, this was Adam.
Or was it? Oh, I've been mad at you for years.
I don't even remember this. I'm going to be enlightened by this. Go ahead.
So, when you do any fantasy draft, you have a snake draft, right?
Let's say also, you got 10 teams, careful. My brother listens to this, so I don't want to lose a listener.
Oh, he remembers. Okay. It was his fault.
Well, it's Adam, right?
Yes.
Allegedly.
Adam, I forgive and forget.
No, he doesn't.
Do you?
You don't.
If it was Corey, no, I would still hate Corey, but Adam, I forgive you.
Anyway, I'm interrupting. Go ahead.
Anyway, so for whatever reason, it didn't get set up like a snake draft. And I had last pick, in every round. I had the 10th pick, the 20th pick, the 30th pick, the 40th pick.
How'd you do?
Well, let's just say I exited the draft.
Yeah, he quit.
Round, and I never paid attention to the team. So that brings us to 2020, 2022, whatever year that the MLB decided to implement the lottery draft. which means they spin a ping pong bingo wheel and they pull out a team, and that team gets the first pick in the draft. You would think it would go by record, right? All logical and I'm sure mathematical signs point to that being the decision. But no, we want to try to stop tanking, blah, 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 blah. And let's do some ping pong draft where I'm sure there's no nefarious action behind the scenes. Please trust us. The doors are closed. So anyway, I think the Cardinals fell one pick and Cleveland shot up to the top. Cincinnati's shot up to number 2. Can you say, wow, Ohio paying off MLB? So yeah, I kind of raged at it. I'm going to continue to rage at it every year. I think it's stupid. It should go by record. The NBA does this as well, but the NBA is set up a little bit different. They have a cap, which earlier I was thinking somehow played into this, and now I can't remember why I thought that. But I hate it. I think it should go by record. I don't think this does anything to stop tanking. If anything, it makes it worse because those teams want the most ping pong balls inside the bingo bin. So I'll stop ranting.
That's
the title right there.
I'll stop ranting and I also know that like the MLB draft is the most for sure draft of all the major sports, probably, right? You don't have that 90% chance of hitting a guy that's going to contribute right away. So it's different, but I don't know. What were your all thoughts on maybe what happened this year and then just in general the format that they changed to a couple years ago?
I think I like it. Which is probably not that surprising because you and I have very different tastes in things. But I think it does. So the bottom 3 teams all have the same percent chance to get the first pick. It's an 18.3% chance, which is the Athletics, Royals, Rockies. The White Sox were the 4th worst team with a 14.7, then it kind of drops off. The Cardinals were 5th with an 8.3. The Guardians had a 2% chance for the first pick. The Reds had a 0.9% chance for the first pick. It's nice because it's just because you have that the absolute worst record. I don't think that should guarantee the first pick because then it makes, I think, the tanking very obvious. Not to say that the Athletics were trying at all, but or the Rockies. I think the Royals tried and they're just a bad team, but I just think it makes it more interesting. Like you don't see the just blatant terribleness that I think we saw with the Astros and the Cubs and the Braves for a few years where they were just bad. And I don't even know if the Braves ever got a first pick or the Cubs got a first overall pick, but the Astros did. I think Correa was the first overall, but they were at the top with some of those. So it makes it more interesting, and I don't think you should I don't think you should just straight out reward people for being bad. This at least gives you some variability and some chance that, because I think the Athletics ended up with like the 8th pick, and they were terrible. Which, if we're going to talk about having there's some hands and things that are happening, like the MLB was like, oh, we're going to give the Athletics like a terrible pick because we want them to continue to be bad. But that would be where I would kind of shine my microscope. But I like it. Makes it interesting. More interesting than just bad team given first pick.
I didn't realize that I'm trying to figure out why the Padres are picking 25th. I can't figure that out. Do you know that, Corey? But the playoff teams are ranked not by record but by finish, and so the Braves and Dodgers are ahead of the Diamondbacks because we choked in the playoffs. So we're getting better drafts, even though we're a 100-win team. So I don't. That's ridiculous. That should still be record, I think. Playoff teams should still be by record, but whatever. But if you see pick 31 goes to the Diamondbacks because Corbin Carroll won Rookie of the Year. Pick 32 goes to the Orioles because Gunnar Henderson won it. And so we talked about that a little bit off and on throughout the season, how new rules were put in place to encourage teams to play the younger guys sooner and not mess with, manipulate Super 2 status and service time and all that. And so you see these two young teams get rewarded because they relied on their young guys the entire season. And they get an extra pick because of it. So, a bad team, you could also have a bad record, but you could have a rookie of the year and get 2 picks and could really help you out. So I like the new twists. I'm with you,
So-
not rewarding for bad play or bad rosters.
If you surpass the second luxury tax threshold, your first round pick will be moved down 10 slots. And that happened with the Padres, Mets, and Yankees.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
That's about to happen to the Braves.
This is tough. I'm with Joe, I think, which is tough for me to say.
Oh, the Cardinals fans. Interesting how this works.
Sure. But I don't think a team with a winning record should be the number 2 pick overall. Like that's bogus. I think if you're gonna make it a lottery, make it the top 5 teams can be a lottery so that you're still trying to avoid the tanking. But then after that, everything should be record. Like I don't know. You want these teams that aren't good to be good, but you're not rewarding them when they're not good. That sentence makes sense.
You want these teams that aren't good to be good,
Mm-hmm.
but you're rewarding them when they're not good.
Wait, you're not rewarding when. Why would you want to reward them when they're not good?
No, you're not rewarding them when they're not good. Anyway, you guys know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So I think you could, if you want to continue to do the lottery to make it exciting, or whatever, like just make the number of teams that can enter in the lottery smaller, and then just make the rest of it record.
I think that's
Yeah.
a good compromise.
Like
Yeah, I like
no
it.
way should the Reds have an opportunity to get in the top 5 pick with a point. You said 0.9%.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
something like that.
sorry,
Hey, man, statistics.
Yeah,
no.
the biggest thing is though that the MLB draft isn't as impactful as NFL, NBA. Like we've talked about, only 2 guys ever drafted 1-1 are in the Hall of Fame. So like getting the number 1 pick doesn't necessarily mean going to change your franchise. You still have, you can still get the All-Stars and Superstars and Hall of Famers at any of these picks. So
I think it's better now. Like it is, I think just with stats and scouting and like these players are playing in against better competition prior to getting to the majors. Like I think maybe this is just in my mind, but it seems like, these upper first round picks are better than a lot
it
of
does
what
seem like
were,
more first round
like,
picks
20
are
years ago.
hitting. Yeah, more first round picks are hitting in general.
Yeah.
But still, like Harper will be a Hall of Famer, but Strasburg's not. And those are 2 of the biggest hyped 1-1s of our lifetime. Things happen.
Dansby's
And
going
that
to
was
go in
back
with the
to back
Cubs hat.
years. What's that?
Dansby's going to go in with the Cubs hat.
Dansby's not a Hall of Famer. So
Not yet.
Yet.
so yeah, so 1-1 is nice, but you can also get at 110, you can get the Hall of Famer. So, but yeah,
Or
you're
one-
right. They're hitting more often than they used to.
And I'm right that they shouldn't do a lottery.
Well, maybe they should just announce it in a different way. Like under the Angels.
Maybe
4.
that's what happened. Maybe they announced it in that weird way that Joe was saying, and no one understood it, so they just threw names up on the board.
Yeah.
That's
All the grandmas are going to love this episode. Forget our moms. But before we wrap up, I do want to we got a comment with some episode suggestions from Matt Sealock, I believe. Just shout out Matt Sealock. I do believe we will do those sometime. I
Mhm.
think your suggestions require some preparation on our part, which as soon as we start making some money, we'll be able to prepare a little bit better.
Yeah,
But,
if you've got, so his ideas were best walk-up songs and or best relief pitcher entrances. So anybody out there listening to that, if you want to help us compile, throw out some ideas and comments. Throw out some players that come to mind about walk-up songs and relief pitcher entrances, so we can have something to look up.
And if you have ideas for episodes, still give them to us.
Mhm.
Because our writing staff usually is writing during the episode, as we saw today.
All righty. Do we got any other things to share? Any other free agents that Joe wants to talk
Let's. Yeah. Wait. Let's refresh. Let's refresh.
Yeah, we have an
Oh.
agreed upon Juan Soto
It's
deal.
done. It's
Breaking
done.
news. Breaking news.
Are we
Both sides.
for reals?
Yeah.
Yep.
9:39. 3
We
minutes
are the
ago.
first to report this. Breaking. Juan
Yeah.
Soto is reportedly being traded. It does. It's
Almost
not
within
even
2 days.
Gosh.
I mean,
Soto
it's-
and Chris.
it's
so
not
the players we
official.
talked- Yeah, it's not
Make the-
official.
They are expected to make the announcement
It's
tonight.
just
I mean,
another way of saying that probably
What
gonna
is
happen.
he's gonna fail a physical? Doubt it.
No, I think the physicals are figured out. Now they just have to sign the papers, or however you consummate a trade. Hopefully it's different than a marriage, but whatever.
No, it's
Oh,
not. It's
gosh.
actually the exact same.
Oh no.
Both GMs.
He's still single, Jessica Biel.
He's
All
not.
righty. Let's wrap this one up here. So we'll be back with some more news next week. All signs point to Soto almost being traded, so we'll be talking more about that next week. Everybody is saying Ohtani's going to sign this weekend, and
With the
Yamamoto
Cardinals.
will have to sign before December's up, so because the posting window will be closing. So
Stove's getting
hopefully
hotter.
the stove turns on. But until next time, don't forget to
Rake.
rake
Your
position.
Rake your
Bingo.
position. Bingo.
Video.
Before the eye.
Bingo was his name.
Question for you. Is the farmer named Bingo or is the dog?